Welcome back. As always, I'm your guide into the business world, Sergey Patrickiev at BizBaby. Today, we'll discuss planning and budgeting for your very first BizBaby. In a previous chapter, we talked about business models and structures. If you haven't watched it yet, I suggest doing it before watching this one. In this chapter, we talk about actual steps, sort of a to-do list, and some key calculations with examples. And by the time you are done watching this, you will be much more likely to succeed in your first venture. So let's buckle up and get started. Before actually jumping into new business venture, let's crunch some numbers first. As a new business, you will need to plan your budget to file corporation, LLC, rent a business, space, hire people, buy equipment, inventory, have a runway for at least 12 months, and much more. For the purpose of this exercise, let's pretend your name is Nick and you are a new business owner. I like coffee shops. Hopefully you do too. So let's take one as a business example. To help Nick get his business started, we need to cover many boring but also important questions. What kind of coffee shop does Nick want to start? What type of customer will it serve? Does Nick want people to be quick in and out, or he wants it to be more of a sit down and work kind of environment? How is he going to get those customers? What type of location and space will he need? Then of course he needs furniture and equipment. He needs to plan for hours operation and staff and many more things. So let's dive a little deeper and talk about the key details of this idea. We will base this off a coffee shop, but same goes for any business. Keep in mind, this is just an exercise and some numbers are not accurate and maybe off by a lot. You will have to find them out yourself for your particular business case. So who is Nick, our hypothetical model business owner? Nick has been working as a bookkeeper for the last 5 years. Last 2 years, he was forced to do it from home. Forced because he actually likes being around people. Number 2, what is Nick doing this coffee shop for? He wants to get a financial independence and just focus on this one coffee shop. He knows how hard working from home has been, and he wants to allow other professionals to have an option to work from his coffee shop too. He doesn't want to make it into a franchise business, but to keep it a very personal, professional, a place where you can belong, perhaps even a community. Number 3, who are his customers? He wants to find people who are young professionals who are lower to middle class, not yet families, people who can work from a laptop, supposedly mid to late 20s. So he needs to look into a very specific area. For example, Ballard in Seattle or Lower East Side in New York are perfect examples for such customers. Number 4, walk through or sit in a coffee shop. Nick wants to personally greet and welcome a customer into his coffee shop, make them feel comfortable and important. It will be mostly 1 to 2 customers per party, working from a coffee shop or having a chat with a friend. Number 5, how is he going to get those customers? The biggest channel of customer acquisition for Nick is going to be word of mouth. He will focus on each and every customer individually. Bulk of people in the area have roommates, so they can spread the word about the new community coffee shop where you can comfortably sit and work instead of logging hours all day long from home. But first, he needs to think about some advertising to land the first few hundred customers. He will focus on some free advertising channels. However, some Yelp and Google ads will be needed as well. Number 6, location and space. Based on the type of coffee shop and type of customers, Nick needs to a very particular space. It doesn't need to be a corner space since that's going to be much more expensive. However, he needs to have a lot of space and sunlight and perhaps some exposed brick and rustic vibe for interior. Enough space to comfortably sit 30 to 40 people. 1,500 square feet space should fit those nicely. Such a space will go for around $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Number 7, furniture and equipment. Since Nick wants to personally greet and focus on every customer, he will have just one station, espresso machine as well as the coffee machine, and he will need about 12 small tables and 4 medium-sized tables. Number 8, hours of operation and staff. Nick wants to work at a coffee shop full-time, however, he needs to have a backup. He can't work 7 days a week. Usually such coffee shops are open from about 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. and he will work in the morning till about 2 p.m. 5 days a week. Sunday he will work the whole day and he'll have a barista cover 11 a.m. till about 5:30 p.m. 6 days a week. Extra 30 minutes after closing the shop will be dedicated to cleaning. To cover a variety of different tasks, he will need to find someone with experience and pay a little extra to do that cleaning after and closing the shop. $2 an hour would be a good starting point with somebody with experience. $780 per week will sound about right. Number 9, runway. Nick needs to prepare to lose money for the first year before his shop can break even, sometimes even longer, so he needs to plan for it. Number 10, potential changes. Simply selling coffee may not be enough to make the math work. People will get hungry and will want to get snacks or even some cooked food. However, serving food is a departure from the original idea. So let's see how much of a hole we need to cover once we put all the numbers below. Number 11, cover from unforeseen. Nick is looking at a substantial investment he needs to come up with. Betting such a large sum of money would be silly without thinking of covering at least part of it with insurance. He needs to find insurance that can protect him from potential loss of customers or interruption. Now, let's take a look at the budget of all that we just covered. All numbers listed below are very, very rough estimates of what it could cost. Monthly expenses: rent, $5,000, payroll, $3,300, coffee, about $2,000, utilities, electric, internet, phone, about $500, garbage and removal, $100, marketing, $5,000, and monthly total comes to about $15,900. Before we continue further, let's see how much coffee he needs to make a day with the monthly $15,900 expenses. With an average cup of coffee around $6 and 30 days in a month, let's consider that the cost of coffee and a cup is about $1. That means you have to sell a total of 106 cups of coffee every day. However, Nick focuses mostly on sit-down customers who spend an hour or two and drink 1 or 2 cups of coffee per visit. Even if he had 100% of tables filled with at least one customer at all times, each customer getting 1 cup of coffee per hour, it would result $900 a day. Of course, that scenario is completely unrealistic. Very rough estimate of average capacity of coffee shop should be somewhere around 20 to 30%. With that in mind, it comes to about $300 average per day business volume for sit-down customers. Of course, there will also be people who just get in the coffee and go. However, if we focus on sit-down customers, let's just stick to that original math. And that's not enough to cover monthly expenses and return on investments. We need to make sure customers spend more money and purchase additional items. By introducing pre-cooked sandwiches and pastries could boost the revenue per customer and potentially fill some of those hungry bellies. Working does work up an appetite, doesn't it? Offering special drinks like cappuccinos, lattes, and offering a little extra twist with decoration and increasing the cost of a cup by about $1 could make the math work. We will need to increase an average customer spending from $6 to about $10 per hour to make the math work, and to ensure 100% focus on our main target customer, those who come there to work. Introducing sandwiches, pastries, bottled water, and juices will help boost that revenue. To do that, Nick needs to reach out to local bakeries to work out a wholesale contract to ensure a fresh supply of baked goods every morning. In the beginning, he will probably need to get a business membership at a Costco and stock up with water and juice beverages, but eventually he can work out a deal with beverage distributors to restock a supply directly. Now that we've covered a rough business plan in words, here is a summary of all the expenses he needs to cover up front. Expenses up front are filing corporation, rent, security deposit 3 months, DOB work permit for basic renovation, then the renovation itself, tables, reception, coffee machine, an espresso machine, POS terminal, inventory, insurance, workers' comp, potentially a store sign, and other miscellaneous expenses. The minimal upfront total will be about $52,000 and $700. So $52,700. Yeah, we've already covered monthly expenses to pay for 12 months runway. Before business can break even, we need about $190,800. After putting it all together, total investment so far is $243,500. So Nick needs to come up with $243,500 to establish a successful business. There are definitely ways to minimize that initial investment or looking to help from an SBA loan, for example. However, there are large risks of not doing it properly and not having enough funds to cover the first period of having low or very little revenue. Since Nick is going to focus on being in the coffee shop full time, it will be hard to dedicate much personal time to do any other things. Once again, all the numbers in this article are rough approximations and will most probably be very different. However, exercise of math should be similar for any business. Let's summarize what we've covered so far. We've explored who Nick is and what type of business he wants to have. We've also asked some key questions about business and his vision. Remember, you don't always have to have an answer, and definitely don't expect it to be the same. Things change and your vision will change too. But getting used to asking questions, especially right questions, is the right thing. And finally, we've worked out a budget for our business, an amount of investment required to get it running till hopefully it can pay for itself. Congratulations, you are now ready to successfully plan and budget for your BizBaby. Thank you.